All right, so I pre-shuffled some cards to go along with the astrology. I didn't want to do it live because I wanted to meditate with the energy for a second, and I also think that there's so many cards. I just also didn't want to kind of have a mess going on, but I laid them out in a specific way, and I'm going to recreate that and talk about what I see. All right, so let's get started with the first week in August, which is August 1st to August 7th, obviously. So we're starting off with the Sun in Leo at this time, and it's making a square to Uranus. So I feel like some of us might be experiencing a little bit more of this desire for change in our life, this desire for excitement. But we also have Jupiter making a sextile to Neptune. And so I feel like this excitement, this desire for change, is probably going to be a little bit delayed. And the reason I say that is because we also have Jupiter making a sextile to Neptune. So I pulled this Temperance card. So I feel like a lot of us are gonna want some change right now. The sun is like our life direction, especially as a society or as a whole. We're all moving in the direction of the sun. So we're all moving towards becoming more confident, which is Leo energy, focusing on ourselves and our needs and our desire to create what feels really fun and beautiful in our own lives. And with this square to Uranus, I feel like we're ready to make this change now. But because it's a square, it can be an element of tension, either meaning that maybe the circumstances haven't quite aligned, or we feel a little bit of anxiety behind this desire to change. Like it's not just this easy flow kind of change that just occurs. And because Jupiter is sextiling Neptune, there's such an energy of rest, of relaxation, of taking time out, of pausing. And I feel like that is going to impede the sun squaring Uranus from having this rapid change. Alternatively, an interpretation that I could say is that we do have a change that comes when the sun squares Uranus. We do have maybe some anxiety with it, but we create that change in our lives, maybe a little bit impulsively. And then following that, we kind of go into this reflection mode of waiting, of processing what just happened, of resting, and maybe even reflecting back on the past, because I pulled this Six of Cups card. So I feel like this could be a possibility that we are just realizing the change that we just made and being like, whoa, I need to integrate. I need to take time. So there is, regardless, some element here of either the change happening and then rest, or the change not happening because we need to rest, but feeling like we want the change. So regardless, there is rest. There is waiting. I feel like that's what the first week is. I pulled the Temperance and the Four of Swords. This is both, it says just breathe and rest. I don't think this message could be any clearer. And that's exactly how I feel with Jupiter making a sextile to Neptune. Neptune is a planet of rest and rejuvenation, and Jupiter does prefer to kind of relax a little bit. It's involved in usually indulging in things and taking a break. And usually Jupiter is involved in like enjoying blessings. I mean, it really depends. But when it's involved with Neptune, it's like, now is our time to just enjoy whatever has come in for us, if there has been a change, or just whatever is in our lives right now. And so that's like the main energy coming through during this first week of August. We also have Mercury in Leo opposing Pluto, and then it also is going to oppose Saturn. So this is interesting. I feel like this could be on a societal scale where many of us will experience some hidden truths coming, not coming to the surface, like truth not coming to the surface, like having, one of the things I was reading about online, it said like propaganda. I don't necessarily think like propaganda, but if there's like things on the media or the news, it's like a distorted truth or half the truth or not the full truth in some way. Pluto tends to hide things, to suppress things, especially in the name of control, in the name of power. And so it's possible at like a governmental or world or societal level that could be something that's occurring at this time. And so I really want you guys to pay very close attention to this storyline that I'm saying right now with Mercury, because there is a thread that runs through it all the way to the end, where Mercury is at the very end of the month liberated and truth is found. So we're starting off by truth being suppressed, by it not being fully visible. And this could be on a societal level, but also within ourselves. Like, I think a part of the reason why we're resting at this time is because we won't have the clarity of our own vision, of our own thoughts, or the truth about a situation in our own lives, especially, it's going to be concentrated in the area of wherever Mercury and Pluto are in your chart at this time. So I feel like with that and with the suppression with Saturn, it's like it can feel quite heavy. It can feel like we don't have all the information, even though we might. I don't know how we're gonna think if we think we have information or we don't, but I get the sense that it's like we're moving through. Yeah, maybe that's why I pulled the Star card. It's kind of like we're moving through the dark, and there's only like a dim light lit up to help us see. And I think that's part of the reason with this Star card is like maybe it's like there are literally stars out at night, and those are our guide right now, and we have to like trust our intuition with this Jupiter making a sextile to Neptune, because the facts, the information, what we're being told, how we communicate, all those things are suppressed. All those things are not flowing or are controlled or hidden. And so it's going to be important for us to follow our North Star in order to make decisions in our life. With Mercury opposite Saturn, it could feel like bad news coming in. It could feel like negative things. This is not the time to make decisions, or at least not to make analytical decisions. If you're going to decide, I think it's better maybe to wait a little bit, or at least to make the decision using your own gut and your own intuition. I also kind of feel like I pulled the Five of Wands competition card. So I also kind of feel like this combativeness could come through conversations, with Mercury opposite Pluto and opposite Saturn. It's like, I guess I kind of see it like people butting heads, or maybe you within yourself, like butting heads within yourself. Just like the competition card, I think is the kind of energy that we're going to feel like things are not as harmonious as they could be. However, I feel like generally in relationships, it's going to be good because of Jupiter sextiling Neptune. This is going to be something that's really predominant throughout this week. And I also pulled the Six of Cups, which has a lot to do with relationships really feeling like they're flowing, like they're easy right now. It also has a lot to do with us really stepping into like our creative flow and kind of playing like children. Like, so now is a really great time to do things with art, hobbies that you've been wanting to try, things that feel very easy and don't have that like work pressure on them. But I do think that there's some aspect of our life right now with this Mercury placement where it might feel like there is some sort of blockage of truth, and it's possible that could come in relationships depending on your chart. But yeah, so it's like this interesting mix of this really harmonious energy and this challenging energy. And the challenging energy is specifically in our mindset or our communication. And then the other energy I feel like is positive in terms of rest and possibly relationships as well. We also have Mars and Virgo making a square to Jupiter. So to me, this is burnout. This is somebody who is overdoing it, because Jupiter can lead to excess, and Mars is the way that we're putting our energy. And so because Mars is in Virgo, I feel like there can be especially a little bit of a burnout in terms of our mindset. So if we're not taking a break, I feel like we can be overly critical with ourselves. We could get really hard on ourselves, or we can just, if it's not critical, because Jupiter can kind of soften that side of Virgo. If it's not critical, I feel like it's us still striving for perfection, and that kind of leading to burnout. And I feel like there's so much actually going on underneath the surface. There's so many weight cards, rest cards, things about integration, things about the past in here, that I actually feel like this is a time when we might be receiving like energetic upgrades, or processing a lot underneath the surface. And so I think for that reason, it's actually going to be really important not to push hard at this time. If it's not flowing, don't do it. If it's too much work, don't do it. The next week is when we're going to have a lot of work. So this is your week of integration. This is your week of rest. This might even be a time of communion with your loved ones because of Six of Cups. Maybe you're meeting up with people, meeting up with family, having some kind of reunion. There is, yeah, it could be a little bit frustrating at communication at times, but with Mercury and its aspects. But overall, I feel like it's mostly a time for you to just rest and integrate. And I also pulled an animal card for each of the weeks. Some of them had two. So for this one, we got the lizard card. And to me, that's really saying that this is a time when we are shedding our old skin. And so we are regenerating. We're taking a break and we are refreshing. We are emerging anew after this week so we can go and work hard. And so if you don't rest this week, you will lead to burnout. You won't give your body the time and the energy that it needs to slough off that skin that this lizard is trying to get rid of. And if you don't give yourself that time, it will make things a lot harder on you next week when you're supposed to have your energy revitalized after this break. Okay, let's talk about the second week in August, which is August 8th to the 15th. So at this point in time, we're having Mercury moving into Virgo. My keywords with this week are routine and hard work. The cards match this, the astrology matches this, Virgo energy matches this. So having our mindset, Mercury, communication, and just, yeah, our mindset really in the sign of Virgo is basically asking us to get on a schedule, to know how to use our time efficiently, to get the most work done, to work really hard, and make the best use of the time and the energy that we have. And I literally pulled 3 different Pentacles cards and 1 Wands card, and it's just so much on work. I pulled the 8 of Pentacles, which says hard work. That's exactly what I feel. I feel like we rested. Now we're ready for that hard work. The 3 of Wands, which says the journey. And I really feel like this is us planning. You know, it's not just sitting down and going, but having a vision that we're working towards, having a schedule, having a plan so that we, again, can be as efficient, as organized, as timely as possible without wasting energy, because we're going to have, I think, a lot of busyness, a lot on our plate at this time, and it's going to be so essential for us to know how to manage our time and our resources, which Virgos are exceptional at. I also pulled the Knight of Pentacles, which says efficiency, which again I feel like is illustrating the exact point that I'm trying to make again and again. And then lastly, I pulled the 6 of Pentacles, which says generosity. And really I feel like this card is saying that the more work that you're putting in now, you're going to receive the blessings and the benefits from. I also feel like because Venus is moving into Libra this week, we can start to feel like there's more balance coming into our lives. That's what I feel like with the 6 of Pentacles is equal give and take, equal giving and receiving in relationships, with money, with where we're putting our life force energy. Whether it's this week exactly or over the course of the month when Venus is in Libra. So the 6 of Pentacles and Venus in Libra feels like this state of balance, of equilibrium, of fairness. And so just know that the energy you put in is going to equate to the results you get out. So if you're not putting it in, you're not going to get the results, and that's just what's fair. And so that's exactly what's happening. I also feel like the most important thing, the message that really came through for this, was not just being super diligent, working really hard, but was the passion behind this. And I think that's why I pulled the 3 of Wands and the Dolphin card specifically. The Dolphin card in the Animal Tarot deck, what is it called? The Animal Spirit Guide Tarot deck or Oracle deck is all about playfulness, is all about fun. But if you know anything about the dolphin, this is an extremely intelligent animal. It uses tools, it uses resources to its ability, so or to do things. So it will like pick up rocks and like hit shell, like clams or whatever, and it will open that up to get what it needs. And so I think this has a lot to say with us really utilizing our all of our resources, but doing it from a place of joy, because they're so playful when they do it. They'll maybe throw around the shell or throw around the fish, and it's kind of fucked up, but you know, they do things like that, like they're having fun with what they're doing. and it feels like it's coming from a place of joy, from a place of passion, rather than just obligation. And so I think that's going to be a really key thing for this. What's interesting, what's going on with Mercury, actually, before I talk about that, I want to talk about Mars squaring Pluto. So this is the predominant energy of this month. Mars squaring Pluto is something that I have natally, and I feel like it's really tied in with drive and ambition. It can kind of lead to like explosive anger if you're not actually putting this energy that you have that is going to be coming up within you towards a directed purpose. And I think Mars squaring Pluto is coming up so we can channel this into our work and get a lot done, be super focused and super driven and ambitious, like I was saying. But if you're not putting it towards that, it can come out in a negative way. So that's the predominant energy that you really have to tap into, is this kind of like animalistic desire, this like very intense desire to achieve what you want, to go after what you want, to make it happen. This is an energy of force. It's a masculine energy. So the receptiveness, the feminine that was coming in the first week with that Jupiter making a sextile to Neptune is gone. It's all about Mars and Pluto now and taking what you want. And the sun is also trining Mars, saying that you are basically like all of your masculine energy is working together. The sun is the masculine, Mars is masculine, and it's saying, let's go, let's do this. I have a clear direction of where I want my life to go. That's the sun. And Mars is saying, let's put all of our energy and life force into making this happen, this plan happen. Okay. Now I want to talk about Mercury making a square to Uranus, because this is again that thread that's running through the month that I think is very fascinating. So last week Mercury was making an opposition with Pluto and Saturn. Now it's squaring Uranus. So at this point, last week, the energy of communication or the truth, these ideas, all of this seemed to be kind of suppressed, blocked, controlled, maybe adulterated. And now with this square to Uranus, it's attempting to liberate itself. There's a desire for the truth, this communication to come to the surface, these ideas, the clarity to all be there. And the square to Uranus, though, is saying it really wants to come to the surface and it's trying, but it's doing so in a way that's not flowing easily, that feels very anxious, or it's basically just, it's trying to come, but it's like, I kind of have this visual of like a hose, and maybe the hose has like a kink in it. And so it's a little bit is coming out, but it wants to be released. The full thing wants to come to the surface. And I don't think it's happening this second week. I think it's happening the last week of August. So we're going to get to that. But this to me is saying that this energy is trying to shift, is trying to transform, and is doing so by feeling uncomfortable and trying to push towards liberation. So that's what I see for the second week of August. Now let's talk about the third week of August, which is going to be the 16th to the 23rd. So this is the week that the sun moves from Leo, which is this energy of being very confident, focusing on ourselves, our creativity, and our desires, into Virgo, where Mercury already is. And it's helping I feel like it's basically helping us transition into understanding what we need to do behind the scenes to make our goals happen. It feels like it's a very practical energy. Last week felt very passionate, very energized, very creative, and this week feels a little bit more, not that last week wasn't grounded, but I guess this week feels a little bit more like practical, a little bit more like tedious in a way. Like Virgo energy can be very detail focused, and so it can sort of feel like we are needing to do things the right way. Like a Virgo is someone who will, not all of them are going to be like this, but typically they're going to be the people who are extremely thorough, who will either read the directions or make sure that they do all the preliminary steps to check everything, to do like trial and error before they actually set out on their way. They don't just like dive into stuff. They're like setting everything up in a perfect way, checking things off. And so I feel like we're getting into that, and that's also part of the reason why I feel like I pulled this Hierophant card here, which is all about following tradition. And I feel like that's what it's saying, is like we need to play by the rule book right now. We need to yeah, we need to make sure we don't skip any steps. That's what the sun in Virgo is saying. Don't skip any steps. Um, yeah, and I think that that's going to lead to success. That's why I pulled the Six of Wands to clarify what this Hierophant card means. It says victory. You can really only be victorious when you have taken each step carefully, or you're going to have to go back and redo stuff. And that's why Virgos, even though they're so detail oriented, people make fun of them for that. They get shit done the first time around the best out of anyone in the zodiac. So they're so exacting. And I think that's actually what is being called for us at this time in the third week of August. Okay, the sun is going to be conjunct Mercury and trining Mars during this time. So I feel like this is really beautiful for the story of Mercury. It's starting to be paired with the sun, to come close to the sun. So it can be burned by the sun, but it's also receiving wisdom from the sun, because the sun is the king of the zodiac. And so I feel like it's starting to gain a little bit of understanding that it didn't have in the first week, and that it desired in the second week of August. And because it's trining Mars, I feel like maybe our mindset is going to be helping us to do this work. Like I feel like I feel like the sun and Mars have been working together to help us produce results in our lives, make things happen, take action. And I feel like now that Mercury is joining them, it's like it's on board. Our mindset is there. We're having a lot more clarity about how to take action about a specific thing in our life. We might not have total clarity about what was going on in the first week of the month, but we have clarity at least on the things that we're trying to produce. Like we're going after those things. But it's weird because I pulled the Two of Swords, which is about indecision. So even though we might have clarity, I don't know that that always means that we've decided everything from start to finish. There is going to be some aspect here, because Mars is also squaring Saturn, some aspect here of maybe feeling like we're getting our mindset on board, like we're feeling motivated and we're thinking thoughts that are in alignment with that, and we know what we want to do today, but maybe there is something where with Mars squaring Saturn, things are still not flowing as we would have hoped. Like things are maybe a little bit harder or more tedious. It requires a lot more patience. The hard work continues from last week, but it feels like it's subject to more limitations. Like this is not the time to take new risks, start new projects, because we're going to be met with a little bit more tension and roadblocks and frustration emotionally at this time. And so I think because of that, because the energy isn't quite flowing, we might be reaching an impasse where we have to make a decision about something, or we might just not quite know what we want to do with the long-term plan. So it's like Mercury is on board. Mercury is here helping us take action, but at the same time, Mercury doesn't see far ahead. It doesn't quite have all the steps laid out. There's something that still feels a little bit frustrating. And I pulled the Queen of Cups next to it, which to me is saying that we're not meant to have the full vision, the full plan right now. And it's really more about taking those daily steps, those little actions, that preciseness, that exactness that comes from Virgo, prepping everything, doing the very best that we can from the beginning. And then when it comes to long-term vision and how everything is going to work out, and why we're being blocked right now, we don't understand, that we need to come back to ourselves, to our intuition, and to that more like receptive feminine energy that we were cultivating at the beginning of the month in week 1, because we're not supposed to, I think, have all of the answers. Like we're being a little bit delayed, a little bit blocked right now, I think for a reason related to timing. It could be something else, but I think all of us are going through a very specific process of development that needs to occur when it needs to occur. And I think that this Queen of Cups cards is coming out to say that the timing is a really key factor here, and so we're meant to be trusting it. It might make us feel like we're in this indecision. It might make us feel like we're in this limbo of not knowing how it's going to work out, or the future steps that we need to take. But that's okay. We're going to focus on today, on the present moment, on the practical, what's right in front of us, on the tangible, which is the Sun and Virgo energy anyway. Okay, let's talk about let's talk about Venus making a sextile to Uranus. So I kind of like this. Venus is the planet of love and of money, and I don't really see anything super specific coming in around like relationships, but I do feel like this could be, I mean it could be. Anyway, so it could be love or relationships or money. With the sextile to Uranus, I feel like there's going to be a positive change. So if you've been feeling like there's some kind of blockage in that area of your life, I feel like that's actually going to start flowing. I do think with Mars squaring Saturn, there's a blockage in our work. Like we were really pushing hard and working hard last week, and then for some reason it like slows down or isn't getting the results, or like is a little bit more frustrating than usual this week. But in love and money, that actually is starting to open up in a free flowing way, in a positive way. And so I think that's why I pulled the Empress Receive card. This is a time for a lot of us to probably receive some blessings in either our love or our finances, because maybe we have put in effort before, and honestly it's just karmically time for us to be open to receiving those blessings. I also feel like when we are standing in our power, which has a lot to do with Venus, our owning our worth, owning our value, this Empress energy, this Queen of Cups energy, trusting our intuition, knowing that we're making the right decisions for ourselves, respecting our own boundaries and putting those boundaries out into the world so people recognize and match or our equivalent energy and nothing less. We accept nothing less. And so I feel like that's what's coming through with this sextile to Uranus, is that us stepping into that is going to give us the changes that we desire in those areas of our lives. It's going to facilitate some transition, some up leveling in our confidence, in our self-expression, in relation to relationships and money. I do think that it's also asking us to make a change in mindset. I think the positive things that are going to come through might not happen right now, but we need to make changes in order for those positive things to come through. And those changes are going to happen from the Hanged Man, which is about the changing our perspective. So this was the first card that I pulled out. So I feel like Venus sextiling Uranus is saying that we're meant to be changing our perspective around what we deserve and how, I guess like what we're trying to attract in relationships or in money. And so us becoming more confident with our self-worth, which we did that transformation during Leo season, a few weeks prior to this. And so I feel like those shifts that we're starting to make with this sextile is going to bring in that Empress energy so that we can start to receive the things that we have been desiring, that are energetic matches to us. And with this Hierophant Unlearn, I feel like this card means two things. I already mentioned something earlier, but I also feel like it means unlearning things of the past, unlearning the ways that we have deemed ourselves unworthy of things, or we have kind of energetically blocked things, or we told ourselves we weren't ready for things. It's unlearning this pattern of not being able to receive in the area of love or money, or just general self-confidence in your relationship with yourself. And so that's essentially what I'm seeing. I think that's going to lead us to that victory, that Six of Wands. Once we can unlearn those patterns and be open to receiving and shift our mindset around love and money and how much we deserve and how worthy we are as people, then we're going to start feeling like things really open up for us, and we start to attract those situations, those people, that income that we've been desiring for a long time now. I do think that could be a little bit delayed. For some of us, it could come in now if we've done some of the work prior, but some of us that might be delayed, or it might start now, we might get a preview, and then it will kind of trickle in over time. In terms of Mars squaring Saturn, which is honestly the most predominant theme, I don't want to like overemphasize Venus and Uranus, because although I do think it's positive, I think the more dominant energy is honestly Mars squaring Saturn, which is very frustrating. It can be very, I'm just going to say frustrating, because it requires a lot of hard work and patience and not seeing the results that we necessarily would want, or not feeling the way that we would want. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because I pulled the Fish and the Earthworm card. I feel like, first of all, the Earthworm card is really telling us that we're trying to go back to the basics. The earthworm is so fundamental. It's literally in the ground. It's such a simple creature. It's like this, just a tube, it doesn't have a lot going on with it. Not to diss the earthworm or anything, but it's a very simple thing. And so that's what we're really meant to be focusing on right now, is simplifying our life, being more present in the moment. What can I do today? What can I do right now with the sun in Virgo? How can I organize my life and get things done to the best of my ability, even though I might still be receiving blockages? And also just be really mindful when you do kind of hit some of those impasses and those feelings of frustration when things aren't flowing, where you kind of it might lead to indecision. I feel like that's where we kind of spiral and go into this fish mode of worrying about everything. This fish card is a lot about being concerned for safety, survival, kind of going with like the herd mentality, following people because you just don't have your own inner light as your compass. It's like, it's worry to me, it's fear to me, and it's moving in reaction to fear. And that's what I want to warn you guys against. If you find those impasses and blockages, those are meant to be there. This is some universal thing around timing. It's not about you. It's not meant to be making you question yourself. Although I do think that's a lot of people are going to do that. They're going to be fearful that what they're doing right now isn't right, or they're going to be somehow doubting themselves. And I feel like this fish card and this indecision card is coming here to say, that is a possibility that you might experience, but don't fall into it. Don't go deep into it, because it's the stories that we tell ourselves around what's happening that matters. So if things are not flowing as well, are you telling yourself the story that means you're not supposed to do it? Or can you choose a different story? You can choose whatever story you want to choose. And what I'm telling you is not to choose that story because it's not actually true. It is a story, and it is your choice to think. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about week 3. Week 4 is very intense. It's very interesting. I see like a huge shift happening on the very last day of August. So I'm excited to share that one with you guys. All right, week 4 is going to be August 23rd to the 31st. And this is where I pulled the Hermit card, which says seek truth. And honestly, this is where I feel like everything is starting to shift in terms of that Mercury. Okay, so first of all, Mercury is moving into Libra, so maybe that indecision card could also kind of carry over into this time, because Mercury in Libra is not really a great time to have a clear mind in terms of decisions. Like you might gain clarity about things, because I do think we're going to be seeing that truth that was blocked to us at the beginning of the month. Does that mean we know what decisions we're going to make about our life? No. I think that those could be entirely separate things. I'm not sure what that thing is going to be for each of us in the beginning of the month, but whatever that is, it's going to clear up and be resolved, and the truth is going to come out by the end, and you're going to know for sure whatever that truth is for yourself in your life. Making decisions about your life, that could be in a totally different area. You might have decisions that you need to make that, or like life path things that you need to know about that you don't know, or you don't want to decide yet, and that's okay, because with Mercury in Libra, honestly, just wait till it's out of Libra, because it's going to make more sense to you. It's going to be clearer to you about the right direction to go in. So yeah, because Mercury is making a trine to Uranus, I feel like this is that seek truth card. This is this revelation that's going to happen around the suppressed information that was occurring at the beginning of the month. Mars is still going to be squaring Saturn, so we could still be experiencing the remnants of that frustrating period where things are not necessarily going super flowy. I don't think it's as prominent in this week, but it's still there, so just keep that in mind. Venus is opposing Jupiter. Venus is trining Neptune. So this is interesting. I feel like Venus opposing Jupiter can sometimes lead to, this is why I pulled the cards before, because I know what this says, and usually the cards are illustrating what this says, but this time I felt like the cards were actually giving us advice for the antidote to whatever this could bring into our lives. Because with Venus opposing Jupiter, there can be a little bit more of a relaxation, a desire to indulge, possibly overindulge, not stick to the plans that we were so exacting, so precise with the week before. This is where we can start getting anxiety and being self-critical on ourselves, with the sun being in Virgo. If we relax into this Venus opposing Jupiter energy and stop making that consistent effort, stop with our routines, which is very possible at this time. And I think that's why I pulled the 8 of Lightning, 8 of Wands, which is about working hard, taking action, moving towards our goals, fast movement. And I feel like the Venus opposing Jupiter is slow movement. It's relaxing, indulging, like I was saying. And so I think this is the antidote. We don't need to necessarily move fast. That's not really the feeling that I'm getting from this. It's more of the action element of this. It's more that we are supposed to take consistent steps, keep up our routine, even though you might feel like you don't want to. Do your very best, because it will lead to anxiety. I did pull the Nine of Swords that said anxiety. So I feel like if you kind of get off track, which is easy to do at this time, you might feel that inner frustration with yourself, and it's going to be a little bit harder to get back on track. Venus is also trining Neptune. To me, this is really positive in terms of relationships. I do feel like because of that sextile with Uranus that happened last week with Venus sextiling Uranus specifically, I felt like we made changes to ourselves. We had realizations about what we wanted to attract in love and money. And now with Venus opposing Jupiter and trining Neptune, we're getting the blessings of the perspective shifts that we had last week. We're getting people that are energetic matches. We're getting finances that are energetically matching what we think we deserve. And that trine to Neptune is this ease, this harmonious flow, this sense of happiness that comes from showing up really authentically as who you are and receiving a match for your energy. And I feel like that's what this 10 of Cups fulfillment card is saying, is that relationships and money are going to be feeling a little bit better. And so again, the last day of August, there's a complete shift in this energy that I do want to talk about. But there's some kind of like emotional fulfillment and some kind of like reward coming in around relationships or money. And that's going to take a drastic turn in a second. We also have the Queen of Pentacles, which says practicality. I think that this is the opposite energy. This is the antidote for Venus trining Neptune and Venus opposing Jupiter. There is this kind of over idealism to what's happening. You might feel like, oh, everything is so great. Like this person is perfect. The situation's perfect. Everything is working out. And it's like you don't, maybe don't work as hard, or you don't see things as how they really are, or not that you don't see things how they are, but maybe you're just like over idealizing them and not being as practical as you need to be. So I feel like the antidote this month is taking action and trying to be practical despite some of the energies that are coming in that might push you to do the opposite. Mercury is also trining Jupiter, so I feel like this is us, again, with this 10 of Cups card, feeling like we're happy, feeling like we're fulfilled, things are flowing, and having this really optimistic mindset. And then it all goes to shit. On August 30th, we have Mercury opposing Neptune and then Venus opposing Pluto. Venus opposing Pluto sucks. That's why I pulled this 3 of Swords card, which is about heartbreak. Yeah, it literally says heartbreak. So I'm not saying everyone's going to break up and all the good things that happen are going to reverse themselves. But with Venus opposing Pluto, this can be a lot more challenge in relationships. It can be drama. It can be where you're feeling like the blessing that did come in is now tainted in some way. Like with the opposition with Pluto, it can be resulting in people feeling like they want, like people want different things. It's this element of like power struggles. And maybe people like not fully seeing eye to eye. It's just not the best time. And also with finances as well, there might be more challenging situations that, that can challenge your finances that don't feel great at this time. And with Mercury opposing Neptune, it's like we're suddenly feeling disillusioned. We also feel like we lack a lot of that clarity that started coming in with that trine with Uranus. We had that realization, but then with now it's opposing Neptune, we're like, wait, but what do I do now? Or what does this mean? That person did this with Venus opposing Pluto. They did something negative, or they said something negative, or it feels a little bit weird. And now that Mercury's opposing Neptune, it's like, well, where do we stand? What do I think about this person or this event? Maybe I don't have like all of the answers, or maybe this person straight up lied to me. Like Venus opposing Pluto, Mercury opposing Neptune. This is the energy of like someone lying to you, deceiving you. So be really careful at this time. And I feel like that's going to make you feel like you don't have the things that you need with this 5 of Pentacles card. It's going to feel like, I think it goes from the 10 of Cups to the 5 of Pentacles. So that's kind of really the shift that I see energetically in this week, is like so many positive things with Venus opposing Jupiter, Venus trining Neptune, Mercury trining Jupiter, and then all of a sudden it's like Venus opposite Neptune and Venus opposite Pluto, which is all about disillusionment, lack of clarity, feeling left out in the cold, honestly. Like feeling like you got this beautiful thing in your life and then it got taken away, then it became hard. And this doesn't have to be that same specific thing. It could be two different things or two different situations, but there's some energetic shift here happening in the last week of August that kind of sucks. Like, I'm not gonna lie about it. And hopefully, I hate to like leave on that note because it's literally August 30th that's happening. So I really want to do like the September forecast to see, okay, when does this start getting better? Because it always starts getting better at some point. It's all cyclical. So yeah, I feel like it's an exciting August, and then like the very end, it like can shift in a negative way. Okay, so let's talk about the two animal cards that came out for this month. First of all, I got the crocodile card, which to me was really addressing this last end of August where things could feel a little bit harder. It says like the crocodile energy to me is very spiritual. They are, they're amphibious, they're living in the water. Amphibious, is that right? Well, regardless, they're living in the water and on land. They're ancient dinosaurs. They have this wisdom within them, and they submerge under the water and wait for their kill. They spend a lot of time just chilling underwater doing nothing. I think they spend most of their time sleeping or hibernating. I don't know. I'm from Florida. I do know a bit about crocodiles, but I feel like that's really not showing right now. Anyway, so they spend a lot of time like in rest mode, and I feel like there's going to be this point where with Mercury opposite Neptune, we're not going to have that clarity. With Venus opposite Pluto, we might feel a little bit heartbroken. We might feel a little bit emotionally challenged. And the crocodile energy, I think, is just saying, wait it out. This is a chapter. This is a cycle. Don't make a lot of decisions and choices right now. Don't take a lot of action right now on that situation. Just kind of see how things unfold, and don't be super reactionary. Use the wisdom of having lived for so many lifetimes as a soul. Like this crocodile has been around for so long on this earth. It has an instinct. It knows when to take action, and it knows when to rest and to wait and to let the hardships of life kind of pass, like the storms to roll over and then come out again. And I think, once you've lived enough life, you start to recognize these themes, those cycles, and you don't get as attached to the good times when they're good or the bad times when they're bad. And you start to recognize like, okay, I just need to rest right now. I just need to let this be and let this play out, and not fight it, not resist it, not try to take action and change it. I think that's really what this is saying, is like honor your intuition, your inner authority, and your gut instinct, but also don't be impulsive by any means. I also pulled the Wolf card, which to me feels extremely positive. This might be more towards the beginning of the week where we have Venus making such positive aspects to Jupiter and to Neptune. The Wolf card is this card of community, of people looking out for each other, feeling very supported at this time. And so you might feel like that, at least in the beginning of the week, even maybe after this difficult event kind of occurs. You might still feel really supported by the people that weren't involved in that situation. But I feel like this is really saying to lean on other people and to also think about other people. The wolf is in a pack, and it has its pack mind first before itself. And I think that's a huge shift from the sun being in Leo to Virgo. It's thinking more from yourself in Leo and what makes you happy, to being of service to others, to thinking more about the group scenario, or at least about the people around you. And so the wolf here is asking you to maybe consider this person's perspective if someone did hurt you with Venus opposing Pluto, or if you're going through a hard time with an individual or related to money, lean on other people, and also try again to see things from their perspective or to do things to help them. So it's not like, it's not just about how you're feeling and you're impacted by this and like taking things personally, but maybe taking a step back and really actually viewing what is going on from a broader perspective that includes them, what they're going through in their life and their perspective, if this situation involves a person. If it doesn't involve a person, I feel like the wolf is really saying to utilize that community, to lean on your friends, to to offer to support to others, and also to be open to receiving support, because we're all going to be going through this in the last week of August. And it just feels like this really feminine energy. Like when I think of wolves, I think of a bunch of like women coming together and in their intuitive energy and helping uplift each other through their nurturing side. And I don't know, it just feels so beautiful. So I'm very excited to see that play out. You might feel more connected to women at this time if that's resonating with you. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing for August, you guys. It seems like we are having lots of interesting different chapters each of these weeks. So I'm very excited to see how this plays out for you in your life. If this actually turns out to be true for you, if this resonates for you, please let me know in the comments below. Come back and watch this video during each of the weeks. I'm going to put timestamps for each week, so you can come just click back and listen to what happened that week. And I think it's going to give you guys a lot of insight about, I guess, what advice you can have or you should take, what action you should take or not take during that week in order to flow with the astrology and not be so fearful if things are difficult or coming to an end and things like that. And that's why I love astrology, because it can be so helpful to know what is going on, to give you guys that perspective shift that can let you, I guess, release some of the tension and control that sometimes we want to have over our life, especially when the sun is in Virgo. So I hope this helps you guys, and I hope you have such a beautiful day. If you like it, please comment down below and give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. And I love you guys. Bye.